Hi, this is Simon Leung from simonleung.com and welcome to part 3 of this series about online defamation. 係咯，冇辦法. To be perfectly honest, I think I've spent way too much unnecessary time on this topic already, so hopefully I can make this part 3 the final chapter. For now lah. Because well, there's only so much that I can say right now that are protected both legally and morally, which are both extremely important. Not everyone understands this, I know. But to be serious for a moment, I've been advised to temporarily refrain from showing so much of my evidence as I have been for the past couple of videos. So instead, we're gonna go ahead and attempt to get our points across the old-fashioned way, with a little bit more logic and common sense again. Okay, I'll try, but no promises. Hopefully, the last couple of videos helped to train our brains a little bit into accepting logic, because if they hadn't, well, we're all gonna have a tough time with life in general, but that's another topic for another day. So for now, let's work on closing out this chapter, at least publicly, because well, we definitely want to focus our energy back on the important things and not waste it on people and things that are not so important. 不要浪费我的时间好吗? Before we move on to bigger and better things, let's refresh. So far in this series, we have established that there is a defamer who immorally and illegally concocted a fairy tale story with mocked up proof in a plan to spoof the deceivable, and resorting to law-breaking methods to do so.
因為非常時期，用非常方法。
To remind you, yes, defamation is a serious criminal offense, and according to this fourth article, you are guilty of this defamation crime if Number 1. Someone makes a false statement that is harmful to another's reputation. Check. Number 2. The statement appears to convey a fact, not just an opinion. 係咯. Number 3. It is published or communicated to a third person. Online posting counts. Well then, it definitely counts. Number 4. The person making the statement is at fault because they or someone under their control, like an employee, made the statements. No employees, but definitely have mind control over there. And of course, repetition of violations. More on that later. Number 5, the subject of the statement is harmed as a result. Ouch. Number 6, if the statement is about a public figure, the person making the statement must know that the statement is false, but make it anyway, or act with a reckless disregard of the statement's truth or falsity. Wow, all the above, 群众. So, no doubt that this unnamed defamer has broken the law. The next question is, what do you do when you have been defamed?
解決呢啲特殊案件，就要成立一支特殊嘅團隊。
Well, a normal person would probably make it a point to counterattack. They would fall into the trap of scooping down to the defamer's level, identify them, call them out, and publicly shame them, say bad things about them back, and either purposely or accidentally creating a case of defamation for themselves. Yes, a normal person would do that. I'm not a normal person. I talked about how unprofessional it is to air your dirty laundry on social media and online sites for all to see in the previous video, and I stand by that, which is why I have never spoken out about any of these illegal activities made against me. But as Mark Twain says, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. And this is true, as even my friends from halfway around the world have seen the ridiculous posts and pages made against me, and all they can really do is shake their head in disbelief at not only how childishly the situation was handled, but also how someone can be so oblivious to the law. Nobody's mad, but as my father always says, just disappointed. Now, I'm not airing any dirty laundries here. All I'm doing is the honorable thing of spreading truth and the value of important life lessons. Because when you come across a situation where people are acting at low levels, you need to be smart about making your own assessments of character to learn to conduct yourself at a higher level. And the thing is, even though I had ignored this defamer for well over 2 years now, I guess it's safe to say that not everyone has the maturity or intelligence to stop while being ahead. My choice to stay silent was to give my defamer a chance, which it doesn't want to take. So how much is too much? How far is too far?
已經超越咗處理本地案件嘅能力範圍。
I've been quiet through the spoiling of my name, ruining of my reputation, and even the gathering of supporters who continue to bash my personal and professional brand. I had no response because I didn't care. Those things were not important and they never will be. But when the line was crossed to include my close team members and my family, I think you can understand when I can no longer sit back and do or say nothing. Which brings us to here. And since we're here, we might as well address all those things, including the defamation, along with the other integrity codes and real-world laws that have been broken. I know. You might think that no one in their right minds would actually knowingly break the law like this, much less still refuse to take the appropriate actions to fix all this before next steps are taken to escalate the matter. 喂，醒啲啦. But you would be surprised. As mentioned, turns out common sense isn't so common after all. So, don't ever be surprised when those whom you thought would have known better than to get involved in illegal defamation actually are not better and don't know anything at all. Never underestimate people, or overestimate in this case. For me, I look at it positively and see it as an opportunity not only to reveal the truth for those who deserve to know, but also to provide a series of life lessons that I otherwise wouldn't have had the chance to teach. That's because, like I said, I never wanted to talk about this in the first place, but now that I am forced to, I shall take it as a blessing in disguise. Again, this is part 3 of this series and hopefully my last public one on this topic in its current capacity for the time being, which I believe, whether or not you are an active part of this case, it should still be pretty eye-opening for you, especially for those of you who evidently don't know the difference between right and wrong or how to separate lies from the truth. You know who you are. As your takeaway for this planned final part, let's aim to be better than the haters, the unethical, and the lawbreakers. All of this, and even 14 do's and don'ts of online defamation. So without any further ado, let's do this. In part 1, we talked about the anonymous scam review sites. In part 2, we talked about the anonymously uploaded video, which happens to be the exact same video previously uploaded by the defamer on its own YouTube channel. This video is self-identified, which means that I hold no liability on the revelation of this defamer's identity. Furthermore, the self-identified defamer has also made a variety of other posts using its own name and company brand. So if you think that this defamer has created all the other social media properties anonymously as an intelligent way for self-protection against any of the defamation laws out there, think again. So in part 3 today, let's go ahead and address the things that were actually said in these self-identified posts, because these will be the final piece of the puzzle on things that I would need to clarify. This time through personal attacks, which if you ask me, not only proves motive for all the other anonymous sites, but the style, tonality, and language types are also exactly the same. It's okay, we'll just pretend that we didn't notice. Now, as mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm not gonna be able to go into too much detail or give away too much of the evidence that we already have. In fact, despite how tempting it is and how much easier it would be for me to actually defend all the fake statements and false accusations, I'm still not going to directly reveal the identity of my defamer because of a lot of my own integrity reasons. Integrity isn't just a word. Now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Now, in case you're playing the devil's advocate and thinking I'm not revealing the defamer's name for legal reasons, well, here's a quick disclaimer. Despite popular belief, simply omitting someone's name or not using their full name or any references to them actually does not protect you against defamation, which means a lot of my defamer's partial censorship of my name completely useless. So instead, let me go ahead and show you how to defend yourself without actually committing a defamation crime yourself. 學嘢啦，靚仔! But for those directly or indirectly impacted who want to see my 45-minute full disclosure video that does reveal all the proof, evidence, logic, backstory, and the whole 9 yards, you are invited to collaborate with me personally by going to simonleung.com/defamation. The link is also below in the description for your convenience. Now, because I'm neither spilling the beans on the defamer nor showing the evidence that I do have right here in this video, I understand that it might be a little frustrating for those who want the defamer publicly disgraced and confusing for those who have no idea who the defamer actually is. But the good news is that if all continues to go the way they've been going for the past 2 years and the defamer never does smarten up, well, I'm sure you will have a good show to watch very soon. 準備睇戲咯. So instead of keeping you disappointed and bored with this video, let's switch it up a little bit and turn things completely around, even play a little game, shall we? Imagine that you are a defamer and you want to get away with your defamation attacks. How would you go about doing it? Here are my top 14 do's and don'ts of becoming a successful defamer. Actually, I'll be talking about the don'ts first, so you can call it the don'ts and do's if you want. Hey, I warned you that I'm not normal, right? Disclaimer, all examples I'm about to share are only examples. Number 1, don't be a coward. A coward hides behind the computer, uses underhanded tactics to get what they want, talks a big game online totally inconsistent with how they actually are in real life, brings in innocent women and children into the equation because they think that disrespecting women and children and abusing wives and kids that are not theirs is a funny thing. They think it's a joke. All this is cowardly. So don't be a coward. Instead, number 2, do be honorable. Be upfront. If you did it, admit it. If you didn't do it, deny it. But the honorable thing would be to confront the person. Be a man about it. When I was accused of making those fake scam sites, that's exactly what I did. I made the confrontation. In fact, I offered to help. But more on that later. The point is, reach out for communication. If you want to record a conversation, do it legally. Put the phone on the table for all to see. No goo-goo-wah-wah sneaky business unless you have plans from the beginning. To tamper the recording, make edits to it, manipulate a made-up story, and even use it as a threat, which actually did happen to me. That's not honorable. Messing with my family, that's not honorable. All this, and it doesn't even include. Number 3, don't tell obvious lies. We know that lying is a dishonorable thing, so it should have been included in the previous section. But the lies here are so good, they deserve its own. In fact, it's not just about lying. It's don't lie so obviously. Because all you need to do is simply be caught in one lie and everything else loses credibility completely. That's because you have already proven yourself to be not so trustworthy. So what's an example of an obvious lie? Let's say that you had a mentor. You attended this mentor's classes. You learned from this mentor. And this mentor took you under his wing and taught him everything that you now know about what you're doing right now to make a living. And everyone knows it to be true. There are even years of proof with photos, posts, videos, not to mention hundreds of people who know about this mentorship relationship. Well, don't just lie about it as if it never happened and say that you were never a student or that your mentor was never your mentor or that you never learned anything from him. That's just an obvious lie. You know it, I know it, everyone else also knows it. It's not like vengeance and hatred can somehow simply change the past. If you think you can just by thinking, then you are clearly delusional. But delusional or not, according to everyone else, you already have proven to be able to lie through your teeth about one thing, which only goes to show there's nothing else that can be said which can be considered to be trustworthy. So again, yeah, that was just a random example. And if we don't lie, whatever shall we do? I know it's not always a common trait, but number 4, do tell the truth. It might seem like a new epiphany to some, but I assure you, telling the truth is still an in thing. What's the worst that can actually happen if you admit that you had a mentor? That you were your mentor's student? That you did learn from this mentor? At least people can verify that you were telling the truth and you are indeed trustworthy. If instead, you let your ego get in the way of your better judgment and start telling lies that people already know to be lies, then nobody will believe you even when you are telling the truth. I can't believe these kids' lessons would actually need to be taught to full-grown adults, but like I always say, it is what it is. And even when you are trying to strategically lie, don't go overboard. In other words, number 5, don't go crazy. Lying is one thing, but to fabricate crazy stories with fake or tampered evidence, which in the end proves nothing unless you're a 5-year-old or have the brain of one, then eventually, people won't just see you as a liar, but rather as a crazy person. Like I said in my previous video, that illegally recorded audio was supposed to prove that I supposedly made scam sites about my defamer, which makes no sense because this conversation took place before the scam sites were created. It's also supposed to be evidence that I destroyed my friends, which made even less sense as my friends are all alive and doing very well. So even tampered and out of context words can't prove that I destroyed anyone. Only proves the mentality of anyone who could think to even make this up. The video and post also claim a lot of other crazy things, like how I made threats to my defamer's family. Actually, what I said in response to my defamer's accusation when I did reach out is that I wanted to help, to cooperate with me so that I can help, to assure my defamer that I meant no harm and to let me help for the sake of its family. And of course, my defamer either totally doesn't understand English or has somehow become so delusional enough to call that a threat, or perhaps just an inspiration for a new lie to be made up. Either way, it is crazy talk and everyone knows it. And in case you are wondering, I do have proof of that full conversation and the full chat, not some cropped up or edited statements that has been taken out of context. This is all included in my full disclosure video, which you can apply to access in the description below. Another good one was the claim that one needs to be an SEO expert to create those scam sites, something my defamer insinuates not to have that skill, only to turn that around and beats out the rankings to those sites, and later on even claims to be an SEO expert to teach my strategies for free, which of course is my copyright infringement, and even more immoral. But that's not something I want to get into today. And on top of that, a student who complains about having to do all the work while learning how to actually do something. If that's not crazy, I don't know what is. Again, more details on all of this in my full disclosure video. But as you can see here already, right here, so many crazy talks. I don't have time to go into all of them in this one video. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Just know that if anything that were said actually sounds too crazy to be true, it is. You're only a fool if you let the foolish rambling of a fool fool you. So rather than going crazy, number 6, do present consistent communication. When you talk crazy, your stories inevitably go all over the place. Like I said earlier, you can't claim to be a victim of an attack that can only be pulled off by someone with a certain kind of skills, only to later on use those same skills to do the exact same thing. Not just with the same keywords, but also to attack back the person you had accused of attacking you in the first place. Do you even see the problem here? How about then going public to say that you are going to teach those same skills in your class? You have just invalidated everything that you had ever tried to fabricate. If you want to be believed, be consistent. If you want to convince that someone destroyed someone, make sure that someone has been destroyed. If you want to convince that someone threatened you, make sure that that someone cannot simply provide evidence of the opposite. If you're going to accuse someone of creating scam sites about you, don't leave so many footprints behind in the process of creating those same scam sites about someone else. Here's another one. Don't talk about how much integrity you have of not taking down someone because you aren't that kind of person, only to turn around again and make post videos and other sites and even run ads to then try to ruin their reputation. If you are so obvious in your illegal attempts to harm someone's business, it only proves that you are lying and lying with no end in sight, and contradicts everything that you have ever said. Again, all this makes you sound crazy, inconsistent, and trustworthy. So, if you want to be trusted, make sure you don't do this. And speaking of don'ts, when you are going on a public campaign in an attempt to harm someone. Number 7, don't use defamatory statements. As we already established in this video series, defamation is highly illegal with potential for serious consequences. It's too late for those who have already committed this crime, but it's not too late for the rest of you who are here to learn from other people's mistakes. I've already explained in the introduction what constitutes as defamatory statements, and you can of course refer to my other videos in this series to learn more. But having established that certain comments are defamatory, you need to ask yourself how reliable and trustworthy are the words from those who depend on illegal defamation statements to get their points across. We know the act of defamation is criminal, and I think if you had wanted to raise yourself up while pushing others down, not only does that speak to the ethics of such behavior, but also for someone to break the law so severely time and time again without realizing, again, how credible is that. So no, you don't want to be a defamer. Someone who is known to personally attack others in an unlawful manner, that does you no good for your credibility, especially if things escalate and now even more people know the kind of person that you are and the things that you have done. Stay away from anything that will get you into legal trouble. But of course, if you must communicate, do it this way. Number 8, do be professional and mature. Blatantly making false accusations, illegal allegations, and defamatory words to childishly call other people names is not only unprofessional, but obviously tells the world just how immature you really are. So if you must communicate, use adult words, big people vocabulary, not complain and whining while calling people names like a little 5-year-old. State your claims, present your evidence, speak your case in a professional and calm tone, similar to the way that I was speaking in the video that I was supposedly making threats, which again is crazy and illogical seeing how unthreatening my voice actually was. The point is, be professional and mature. Explain things in a reasonable and logical manner. Whether on social media or in videos like these, no need to play the victim or claim how unfair life is or how evil someone else is trying to make your life a living hell. Nobody cares about that. They only care about the truth. What makes the most sense? What is the most interesting to them? Now sure, if one person is silent, anyone will believe whatever crazy quacks comes out of a duck's beaks, right? But if the other side fights back and throws all your logic out the window, and compared with a much more professional and mature way of handling things, well, that will pretty much tell everyone who is the one that they should believe. How you handle things, especially your problems, tells everyone there is to know about the kind of person that you are. So make sure that you handle things well. What's an example of handling things not so well? Number 9, don't whine over social media. People use social media to lay back and relax. No one wants to see you air your dirty laundry. And when you are the first to instigate, sure, you can gather up your support, which by the way is another thing not to do, which I will talk more about in a short while. But when you do that, of course you will have your little circle of supporters to taunt you in your post, but in the end, it actually makes them look as uneducated as you. So don't do that. Again, more on supporters later on, but to everyone else, you just look like a spoiled little brat, complaining and whining, calling people names, using childish words. This is an example of what not to do, because from experience, when people see these kinds of posts online, they start to laugh and make fun of you at just how immature you really are. So don't do this, especially if you're also using the same branded profiles as well as pages to build your own business. When your potential clients or prospects see this, you immediately lose all credibility. Probably some of your so-called friends may be thinking the exact same thing as well, they're just not telling you. Social media is to socialize, not complain about your problems. Only mature people would know this, but adults actually solve problems. I know, quite far-fetched for some, but it's true. And to solve problems? Number 10, do work things out privately. Whenever there's a problem, I am usually the first person to reach out to resolve them. Now, if the other person is cooperative, then awesome, problem solved. But when they're not, well, this is the kind of things that will end up happening. So here we are. My attempts to resolve things have become futile because apparently a more aggressive, confrontational, and illegal method is preferred. Now, I'm not one to judge, but my point is, if you would like to be trusted and truly walk with integrity, solve your issues behind closed doors. Peaceful endings should always be your priority. In fact, that was the first thing I had said to my would-be defamer the very first time that I was wrongfully accused. but as proven in my full disclosure video, this offer as well as my reaching out to help were both promptly refused, with even more threats and unfriendly fire coming my way. So hey, there's only so much someone can do to try to help you if you are relentlessly and disrespectfully continuing to fire shots, right? Take it from me, do the right thing. Work things out privately while you still have the chance, because once it goes out there, no matter how good you think that you look pushing others down in an effort to elevate yourself, in reality, most people will seize this as scum of the earth, except for those who would listen to you. Speaking of which, as promised, number 11, don't try to garner support. I know it's tempting to go out there and get your little circle of little friends together, start a private group chat or something, and tell your sad life story to them in an even sadder effort to garner support. Sure, maybe you will have some gullible people who will buy into your shenanigans, but there will also be others who won't. And to them, and whoever they end up telling about what some may describe as a desperate and pathetic act, this also makes you look bad. And let's not forget, when you do this, of course, you won't have any nice things to say, which means defamation laws and everything that you violate would be in full effect. And on the topic of defamation, because those who would support the defamatory actions most likely are also unaware of defamation laws themselves, they would most likely end up contributing to your antics by making comments on their own or maybe even sharing it. And when they do that, or worse, when these actions are encouraged by you, not only are you causing more trouble for yourself, as each share and repost counts as additional defamation charges against you, as explained in my previous video, but now you have just caused troubles for your friends, because they are now also law-breaking criminals because of you. They can also be charged on defamation because of you. They can also be charged on aiding and abetting also because of you. You can go down if you want. You can even go down swinging and no one will stop you. But it really takes a certain kind of selfishness to bring down your supposed friends just so that you can temporarily feel better about yourself. Only you will know if it's worth it. Now, for those of you who do have close friends that you would like to keep in the loop, I'm not saying to shut them out. Number 12, do provide updates to your friends maturely. Like I said, how you handle your own problems really tells everyone all they need to know all about you. So if you want to be taken seriously by those who actually matter and not just some random supporters who in the end would do you no good, then handle things like an adult. For me, I actually don't talk to anyone about my problems. Even when people ask me about this case, I mostly shrug it off with a quick one-liner response. Ask anyone and they will attest to this. Unless this happens to be a serious private topic of conversation or discussion, or if it's another one of my examples of life lessons during a training or coaching session, that's it. And it's only during those private discussions when I would actually provide any glimpse inside the core of this case. And because of this, I am respected as someone who doesn't gossip or talk behind other people's backs every chance that I get, even when it is a situation that is closely defaming me. Anyone who knows me knows that I do not do these kind of things. And if you do, well, to those who lend you their ears, I'm sure they all have an opinion of you even without really telling you. Unless, of course, they're the same kind of people as you, in which case, I wish you happily ever after. But in all seriousness, messing up once with defamation is more than enough. It's a serious enough charge just to do it only one time. This means, number 13, don't repeat the same mistakes. You know what would be a very unintelligent thing to do? Make a mistake and not only not learning from it, but repeating that mistake over and over again. It's like you want the charges against you to be even more serious. So here's a random example. You break the defamation law with one defamatory online post, and then you share it, increasing the severity of those charges. Later on, you make another post and share that again, further increasing your charges. Then you make a video, share that video, repost that video, then have countless other sites that also point back to this same video and other posts. Then place even more attacks in your own business listings. But that's not enough. You run ads to it to further expand your reach, increasing the severity of your charges and even more, and now qualify yourself for even more criminal counts of defamation. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over again.
Why is that?
Your consequences for these fatal mistakes 100% depends on how lucky you are and how far the person you are defaming and attacking would actually be willing to go. And if you want the maximum leniency possible, then here is the final do that you must apply. Number 14, do the right thing. The best right thing would have been to never have broken the law in the first place. But now that we are here, the only right thing to do would be the smart thing, assuming of course that no one wants any trouble. Because with all the defamation counts alone stacked against my defamer, I haven't even yet included the personal, business, and psychological damages that I can also legally pursue. It's not gonna be fun, and if we want to avoid it, like I said, do the right thing. Now I know that it sucks that no one has cared enough to educate you on what is right and wrong, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. In fact, I think it's pretty silly that the person being defamed is actually educating his own defamer. This really makes us think about the supposed real friends that we have in our lives, doesn't it? In terms of what this right thing is, I'm gonna have to leave this to you. Think of it as a test. But as an experienced mentor who has a lot of experience mentoring people who simply don't learn, I will say this. If I still manage to find any of the illegally created defamation violations against me, I will take it as an invitation. In which case, don't mind me if I accept it. I highly suggest for anyone in this kind of situation to take a close look beyond just your own ego. And really, if there is even 1 or 2 people in your life that you can look up to who can give you some real advice, now is the time to listen. Because as an ex-mentor who has been disrespected to this extent, I believe I have thrown in my final sincerity card. So use your best judgment and hopefully it will be better than the ones that you have made thus far. Now, if you're still watching this video up to this point, either you are very interested in my case, want to learn how to deal with defamation yourself, or you have somehow also been affected by an endless stream of lies. All I can say to you is to make your own choices on what and who to believe. Because sometimes, actually most of the time, what is made public is created by people who want to cause trouble. Think about how happy that person must actually be or how proud they actually are of themselves for not having anything better to do than to attempt to spoil someone's good name without merit. All because of personal vendettas that they have, and that if they somehow drag someone's name in the mud and grab whatever kind of supporters possible to support their illegal actions. Supporters who contribute, aid, and abet are guilty as well. Don't say I didn't warn you. That it somehow makes them feel better about themselves. Ask yourself, is this the kind of person that you want to trust? I know it's so much easier to simply take someone's word for something without really getting the proper evidence or proof of any of the facts. But is that really going to define who you are? To let those who are jealous of you to stop you from making positive strides in your life? To let the haters beat you? Because if you succumb to that, you've just let them win. But I would never do that because it's all about how you deal with things. I know from day one what's expected of me. I'm expected to lash out, counterattack, take shots below the belt, and maybe even fall into the trap of breaking the law myself. Yung下個腦啦. But the fact that I'm not doing any of that and instead going the mature route to quietly take the action steps I personally need to take in order to resolve this, well, I don't know about you, but this is what I call character. You can definitely learn and tell a lot about someone by the way that they handle things. And I'm not sitting here trying to break my arm patting myself on the back on how well I've been handling my own situation, but I think it is so obvious that even the blind can see what is really the situation going on here right now. Now for me, I'm certain that I am still being cyberstalked by my defamer for no good reason, as I would randomly get likes on various posts, requests to join my private groups, and almost immediately dislikes to my videos on YouTube, mere moments after they've been uploaded. 唉，都話叫你醒啲咯。
是嗎？
Now, whether or not someone is mature or smart is one thing, but unfortunately, breaking the law is another. And not knowing how to cover your tracks, well, that's just the worst. And if, for whatever reason, you're still not able to fully grasp this whole situation and would benefit from having a clarification on this, then I would like to invite you one last time to request access to my private full disclosure video. Again, for integrity and legal reasons, I will not be openly releasing this link for the general public, because it's actually smart not to do illegal things. So what I ask is that if you are somehow connected to this case, for example, if you already know about this situation, if you've been affected somehow, or it has impacted your decisions, business, personal life, or atmosphere of your environment, then I cordially invite you to visit this link, explain your connection, and how you can contribute towards the resolution, and apply for access to receive clarity on my side of the situation. Hear the truth for once lah, and accept my invitation to make your own judgment on the real situation. As you can probably imagine, my hands are completely tied at the moment as we're in the middle of this case, so there's not much at all that I can share outside of what has already been shared in this video series. Although in summary, I think you can appreciate this as a lesson for you on how to behave in a professional, mature, and legal manner to resolve your problems, as well as how to handle any and all challenges like an adult. You're welcome. Because after all, name-calling and spreading lies are for kids, and I don't know about you, but I'm grown up now, and I know that I am better than that. Way better. Hope this video and this series has been enlightening for you, and you have somehow been able to attain some kind of life lesson value out of it. Personally, I hope I won't have to make another video about this defamation case, but I guess along with everyone else, we'll all wait and see what happens. I look forward to hearing from you if you're somehow associated with this case, and I'm sure you also appreciate the opportunity to learn from the mistakes of other people. Just don't make or repeat the same ones yourself. As always, don't forget to like or dislike this video with your reaction. Leave a comment below if you have something to say, and of course, consider hitting that subscribe button for more leadership, business, success, and online marketing tips coming back your way very, very soon. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. So far in this series, we have established. In part 1, we talked about the anonymous. In part 1, we talked about the anonymous. In terms of the. As always, don't forget to I know it's tempting to go out there and get your little circle of little friends together, start a private group chat or. Not everyone understands this. I know. I know. And the thing is, even though I had ignored my. We're gonna go ahead and attempt to get our points across the old-fashioned way, with a little bit more. Now, I'm not airing all of this, and even 14 do's and don'ts of online defamation. I've been advised to temporarily refrain from showing. Look, lying is one thing, but to fabricate. Lying is one thing, but to fabricate. Don't repeat the same mistakes. Hello?